The message raced across every star system in known space. The Coran Dominion, a massive empire stretching across thousands of worlds, had made its intentions clear. They were coming for humanity. Admiral Rannick's voice boomed with confidence. You are a plague on the galaxy. Your species will vanish from existence. The Dominion will erase you as if you never were. The words reached human settlements, military bases, and Earth itself. Billions heard the threat. Billions clenched their fists. For any other species, this would have meant the end. The Korans had destroyed countless civilizations before. Their war fleets had never tasted defeat. People expected humans to surrender, to fall to their knees and beg for mercy. Instead, something different happened. A single video was sent back to Coran leaders. A human soldier stood in the ruins of New Moscow on the colony world of Gram 4. His armor was burned. Blood, both human and alien, covered his face. He had witnessed what the Korans could do. He smiled. Congratulations, the soldier said calmly, almost laughing. You just declared war on the galaxy's deadliest species. Then the transmission ended. The war had started. For thousands of years, the Korans had been unstoppable. Their fleets swept across space, claiming planets and destroying those who fought back. But they had never faced humans. On Gram 4, the first real battle was already underway. The Korans expected a quick, effortless victory. What they found was a nightmare. Major Elias Carter crouched behind a crumbling wall in New Moscow's destroyed streets. Alien bodies lay scattered everywhere, their blue blood staining the ruins. The Korans had thought they would walk through the city unopposed. Instead, human fighters were cutting them to pieces using ambushes, homemade explosives, and pure determination. Status report, Carter commanded through his radio. Still holding the western side, sir, Lieutenant Vasquez replied. But we're running low on ammunition. They just keep coming. Carter knew the truth. Gram 4 was lost. Help wasn't coming. Earth's fleets were still getting ready. Their only job was to hurt the enemy and hold out as long as possible. Make them bleed, Carter said. And if you fall back, leave them something to remember you by. Vasquez laughed darkly. She was already setting charges. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread. Other worlds had suffered under Coran rule for centuries. They watched in shock as these new humans actually fought back. Then came a report that made the Coran leaders freeze with fear. Humans had captured a Coran warship. Against impossible odds, a small team of human soldiers had snuck onto a massive Dominion battleship, killed the crew, and taken control of it. No other species had ever done such a thing. The Korans felt something new, something terrifying. Fear. The ship was called the Varric. It was one of the most powerful vessels in the entire Coran fleet. Now it belonged to humanity. Captain Daniel Rohr stood on the bridge of his stolen prize, his hands still shaking. Around him stood his team of soldiers, engineers, and hackers, all of them covered in alien blood. We actually pulled this off, whispered Lieutenant Harper, her eyes wide with disbelief. Damn right we did, Rohr said. Now let's make sure it was worth it. The Korans had underestimated how quickly humans could learn. For centuries, humans had taken apart every advanced piece of technology they could find. The moment they controlled the ship, Harper and her team attacked its systems like hungry scavengers. Get me a direct line to Admiral Kasari, Rohr commanded his communications officer. Earth needs to know about this. Within seconds, Admiral Kasari appeared on the screen. She was the leader of Earth's defense forces, always calm and calculating, but for just a moment her face showed pure shock. You're telling me you hijacked a Coran battleship? She asked, her voice controlled but sharp. Rohr smiled. We didn't just hijack it, Admiral. We're about to use it. The Coran High Command was falling apart. This was impossible. A stolen ship? One of their own vessels turned against them? But humanity wasn't finished yet. When a Coran fleet approached Gram 4 to reinforce their ground forces, the Varric opened fire. The first enemy ship didn't even raise its shields. It never expected one of its own to turn against it. A direct hit from the Varric's main plasma cannon ripped it apart in an instant. The second ship tried to react, but it was too late. Harper had cracked the Dominion's military codes, confusing the enemy for those precious few seconds they needed. The Coran fleet hesitated, confused and uncertain. That hesitation cost them everything. Human reinforcements came out of hyperspace, hot and ready for battle. A Coran fleet was ambushed. For the first time in their history, the hunters had become the hunted. On the ground, Major Carter and his fighters watched fire rain down from above. At first they thought it was more Coran reinforcements. Then his radio came alive. "Major, this is Captain Roar aboard the Varric. We're giving these monsters a taste of their own medicine." Carter stared upward, watching the once invincible Dominion forces scatter in panic. A slow grin spread across his bloody face. "About damn time," he muttered. The impossible had happened. The Corans had declared war on humanity, but now they understood their mistake. They hadn't declared war on just another species. They had declared war on the deadliest fighters in the galaxy. And humanity was just beginning. The battle over Grom 4 was a massacre, but not for humans. The Coran fleet that had seemed unbeatable now lay in ruins, with broken ships retreating in defeat. On the ground, the last Coran soldiers were trying to escape, scrambling toward the spaceport, but Major Carter and his fighters weren't about to let them leave. Carter stepped over a dead Coran officer, his rifle still hot. His radio crackled to life. "Major, the last of them are grouped up near the spaceport," Vasquez reported. "Like hell they are," Carter shot back. He turned to his soldiers. "Most were wounded and exhausted, but still standing, still ready to fight. They came to our world. They killed our people. Now they think they can just walk away?" His voice burned with fury. "We finished this." War cries erupted as the humans charged forward. News of Grom 4 spread across known space like wildfire. The Coran Dominion, once unbeatable, had just suffered something unthinkable. Defeat. Worse, they had been beaten by a species they thought was primitive and weak. For the first time in their history, the Corans weren't the ones destroying civilizations. They were the ones running. The stolen Varric, now fully under human control, wasn't just a trophy. It was a weapon. Roar and his crew were already rebuilding it, replacing Coran technology with human innovation. The first human-controlled Coran battleship was about to become something far more dangerous. Then came a transmission that changed everything. Admiral Kasari stood before Earth's military leaders. Her face appeared on screens across every human settlement and warship. "This war is no longer about survival," she said, her voice cold and commanding. "The Corans thought they could erase us. They thought we would break." She paused, letting silence fill the moment. They were wrong. Her eyes burned with something primal, something ancient. "We are not just fighting back. We are hunting them now." Cheers erupted across Earth and every human colony. This wasn't defense anymore. This was vengeance. Humanity wasn't just surviving this war. They were going to win it. Deep in Coran territory, the High Council chambers erupted into chaos. These rulers, once so calm and confident, were now shouting and arguing. This should not have happened. Admiral Rannick slammed his fist on the table, his mandibles flaring in rage. "Humans were supposed to be an easy conquest." "We underestimated them," another warlord growled. "Their ability to adapt, to fight back. We have never seen anything like it, and now," a cold voice added, "they are coming for us." For the first time in their empire's long history, the Corans faced something they had never encountered before. An enemy that refused to kneel. An enemy that learned from its losses. An enemy that, when pushed to the brink, didn't just survive. It evolved. The first human offensive into Coran space began with fire and fury. Using the Varric as their spearhead, Earth's forces struck deep into enemy territory. Their target, Velrath, a heavily fortified supply world that fueled the Coran war machine. A full invasion would be suicide. The Corans had orbital defenses, ground forces, and an entire fleet stationed there. But humans had never fought fairly. Instead of an invasion, they sent a message. Roar piloted the Varric straight into the system using false Coran identification codes. The Coran fleet, still reeling from Grom 4, had no idea what was coming. Then the moment the Corans realized who controlled the ship, the humans activated their trap. Before the battle, Harper and her team had rigged the Varric to do something no Coran ship was ever designed to do: detonate its entire fuel core in one massive chain reaction. Roar sent one final transmission to Coran Command, his voice filled with dark amusement. "Congratulations, you just lost another planet." The Varric was on a collision course. Impact, the explosion was catastrophic. A stolen Coran battleship, overloaded with enough fuel to incinerate entire fleets, detonated directly above Velrath's main supply centers. The shockwave devastated the Coran war effort in that entire region. Fuel depots were obliterated. Supply chains shattered. The Dominion had spent centuries perfecting conquest, But no one had ever dared fight them like this, and this was only the beginning. The Korans weren't just losing ships and worlds. They were losing something far worse, their reputation. Across the galaxy, species that had lived in terror under Coran rule began to watch closely. If humans could fight back, if they could wound the supposedly unbeatable empire, then maybe, just maybe, no one was truly alone. Rebellions erupted on Coran-controlled worlds. Slave species that had accepted their fate started fighting back. Supply lines were destroyed. Coran patrols were ambushed. Military leaders found themselves hunted in their own territories. The Korans had ruled through fear. Now they were the ones afraid. The High Council convened again. Their once proud chamber was now filled with dread. "We cannot allow this to continue," Admiral Rannick growled, his mandibles clicking in frustration. "The humans must be destroyed. All of them." "But how?" another counselor demanded. "They fight like nothing we have ever seen. They destroy ships just to hurt us. They burn supply stockpiles instead of claiming them. They do not fight for territory. They fight to kill us." The words hung heavy in the chamber. The Korans had always believed themselves to be the galaxy's greatest predators. But now they understood the truth. They hadn't awakened prey. They hadn't awakened an enemy. They had awakened something far worse. They had awakened humanity. Back on Earth, Admiral Kasari stood in the War Command Center, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. The Dominion still controlled thousands of worlds. Their fleet still outnumbered humanity's forces 100 to 1. But the war wasn't about numbers anymore. It was about strategy. It was about fear. "We do not need to defeat the Dominion in open combat," Kasari told her officers. "We just need to break them. We will target their supply chains. We will destroy their command structure. We will take away their belief in their own power. We take it all." She looked at the faces around her, the greatest military minds humanity had ever produced. "Let's show them what happens when you declare war on the deadliest species in the galaxy." The Coran homeworld was a fortress. For centuries, it had been the heart of an empire that ruled without challenge. No species had ever dared strike at it, until now. Humanity's plan was so bold, so completely insane, that no Coran admiral would have expected it. Instead of slowly grinding through the Dominion's defenses, the humans were going to cut off the head of the beast. Operation Executioner had begun. A small fleet of human stealth ships slipped past Coran patrols. The Korans had spent decades preparing for massive invasions. They had never prepared for assassinations. Their defenses were built to fight huge armies. Not a handful of carefully placed human operatives. Among them was Captain Roar, the man who had stolen the Varric. Now he was leading an even more dangerous mission. "Get in, cause chaos. Get out." Roar and his team infiltrated the space stations orbiting the Coran homeworld. They planted explosives at key points in the defense grid. The humans had discovered something that no other species had realized. Coran technology was powerful, but it wasn't invincible. Their power systems, their supply networks, all of it could be broken. The explosions were synchronized. One command, one moment, boom. Half of the Coran planetary defenses went dark. That's when the real attack began. The Korans expected an invasion. They expected soldiers landing on their world, ground battles in their cities. What they got instead was annihilation. The first human strike force didn't land. They attacked from above. Human warships, smaller and faster than Coran battle cruisers, launched massive railgun rounds at key targets. Military installations vanished. Supply hubs turned to dust. The Coran command structure fell into complete chaos. Generals screamed orders no one could follow. Warships tried to launch but were shot down before leaving the atmosphere. The humans weren't fighting for territory. They were dismantling an empire, and the Korans had no idea how to stop them. Deep in the palace of the Coran Emperor, the once mighty ruler of the Dominion stared at the reports in disbelief. "This is impossible," he whispered. "They are primitives. They are weak." A nearby officer trembled as he spoke. "My lord, the palace doors exploded." Smoke and fire filled the chamber as Roar and his team stormed inside. Human soldiers, covered in blood and bearing the scars of battle, pointed their weapons at the most feared leader in the galaxy. Roar stepped forward, his face unreadable. "You declared war on humanity," he said coldly. The Emperor, once so arrogant, so untouchable, now cowered before them. Roar raised his pistol. "Big mistake. One shot. The Coran Emperor was dead. The news spread across the Dominion like wildfire. The Emperor was dead. Their homeworld was destroyed. Their fleets were broken. Without leadership, without the fear that had held them together, the Dominion began to fall apart. Enslaved species rose up in rebellion. Planets revolted. Coran military officers were assassinated in their own command centers. Slave armies turned on their masters, slaughtering them without mercy. The Empire was collapsing, and the humans didn't stop. Months later, Admiral Kasari stood among the wreckage of what was once the greatest empire in the galaxy. A war that should have lasted centuries had been won in months. Around her stood the gathered human soldiers, their faces worn but victorious. They thought they were the apex predators, she said quietly, looking at the burning remains of Coran power. They were wrong. For the first time in history, the galaxy had a new ruler, and the humans weren't conquerors. They were hunters. For centuries, the Dominion had ruled through fear. Now humanity had taken their place. Some civilizations celebrated their arrival. Others trembled, because the galaxy had learned a terrifying truth. You do not declare war on humanity. If you do not get a war. You get extinction.